Chapter 16 of Lyrical Ballads, 1798, by Samuel Taylor Coleridge and William Wordsworth. This recording is in the public domain. Verity Kendall. The Idiot Boy. 'Tis 8 o'clock, a clear March night. The moon is up, the sky is blue. The owlet in the moonlight air, he shouts from nobody knows where. He lengthens out his lonely shout, halloo, halloo, a long halloo. Why bustle fuss about your door? What means this bustle, Betty Foy? Why are you in this mighty fret? And why on horseback have you set him whom you love, your idiot boy? Beneath the moon that shines so bright, till she is tired, let Betty Foy with girt and stirrup fiddle faddle. But wherefore set upon a saddle him whom she loves, her idiot boy? There's scarce a soul that's out of bed. Good Betty, put him down again. His lips with joy they burr at you, but Betty, what has he to do with stirrup, saddle, or with rein? The world will say 'tis very idle. Bethink you of the time of night. There's not a mother, no not one, but when she hears what you have done, oh Betty, she'll be in a fright. But Betty's bent on her intent, for her good neighbour Susan Gale. Old Susan, she who dwells alone, is sick and makes a piteous moan, as if her very life would fail. There's not a house within a mile, no hand to help them in distress. Old Susan lies abed in pain, and sorely puzzled are the twain, for what she ails they cannot guess. And Betty's husband at the wood, where by the week he doth abide, a woodman in the distant vale, there's none to help poor Susan Gale. What must be done, what will betide? And Betty from the lane has fetched her pony that is mild and good, whether he be in joy or pain, feeding at will along the lane, or bringing faggots from the wood. And he is all in travelling trim, and by the moonlight Betty Foy has up upon the saddle set, the like was never heard of yet, him whom she loves, her idiot boy. And he must post without delay across the bridge that's in the dale, and by the church and o'er the down, to bring a doctor from the town, or she will die, old Susan Gale. There is no need of boot or spur, there is no need of whip or wand, for Johnny has his holly bough, and with a hurly-burly now, he shakes the green bough in his hand. And Betty o'er and o'er has told the boy who is her best delight, both what to follow, what to shun, what to do, and what to leave undone, how turn to left and how to right. And Betty's most special charge was, Johnny, Johnny, mind that you come home again, nor stop at all. Come home again, whate'er befall. My Johnny, do, I pray you do. To this did Johnny answer make, both with his head and with his hand, and proudly shook the bridle too. And then his words were not a few, which Betty well could understand. And now that Johnny is just going, though Betty's in a mighty flurry, she gently pats the pony's side, on which her idiot boy must ride, and seems no longer in a hurry. But when the pony moved his legs, oh then for the poor idiot boy, for joy he cannot hold the bridle, for joy his head and heels are idle, he's idle all for very joy. And while the pony moved his legs, in Johnny's left hand you might see the green boughs motionless and dead. The moon that shines above his head is not more still and mute than he. His heart it was so full of glee, that till full 50 yards were gone, he quite forgot his holly whip, and all his skill in horsemanship. Oh happy, happy, happy John! And Betty's standing at the door, and Betty's face with joy o'erflows, proud of herself and proud of him. She sees him in his travelling trim, how quietly her Johnny goes. The silence of her idiot boy, what hopes it sends to Betty's heart. He's at the guide-post, he turns right, she watches till he's out of sight, and Betty will not then depart. Burr, burr, now Johnny's lips they burr, as loud as any mill, or near it. Meek as a lamb the pony moves, and Johnny makes the noise he loves, and Betty listens, glad to hear it. Away she hies to Susan Gale, and Johnny's in a merry tune. The owlets hoop, the owlets curr, and Johnny's lips they burr, 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 and on he goes beneath the moon. His steed and he right well agree, for of this pony there's a rumour, that should he lose his eyes and ears, and should he live 1,000 years, he never will be out of humour. But then he is a horse that thinks, and when he thinks his pace is slack. Now though he knows poor Johnny well, yet for his life he cannot tell what he has got upon his back. So through the moonlight lanes they go, and far into the moonlight dale, and by the church and o'er the down, to bring a doctor from the town, to comfort poor old Susan Gale. And Betty, now at Susan's side, is in the middle of her story. What comfort to Johnny soon will bring, with many a most diverting thing, of Johnny's wit and Johnny's glory. And Betty still at Susan's side, by this time she's not quite so flurried, demure with porringer and plate, she sits as if in Susan's fate, her life and soul were buried. But Betty, poor good woman, she, you plainly in her face may read it, could lend out of that moment's store 5 years of happiness or more, to any that might need it. But yet I guess that now and then, with Betty all was not so well, and to the road she turns her ears, and thence full many a sound she hears, which she to Susan will not tell. Poor Susan moans, poor Susan groans, as sure as there's a moon in heaven, cries Betty, he'll be back again. They'll both be here, 'tis almost 10, they'll both be here before 11. Poor Susan moans, poor Susan groans, the clock gives warning for 11. 'Tis on the stroke, if Johnny's near, quoth Betty, he will soon be here, as soon as there's a moon in heaven. The clock is on the strike of 12, and Johnny is not yet in sight. The moon's in heaven as Betty sees, but Betty is not quite at ease, and Susan has a dreadful night. And Betty half an hour ago on Johnny's vile reflections cast, a little idle sauntering thing, with other names an endless string, but now that time is gone and past. And Betty's drooping at the heart, that happy time all past and gone. How can it be he is so late? The doctor has made him wait. Susan, they'll both be here anon. And Susan's growing worse and worse, and Betty's in a sad quandary, and then there's no one to say if she must go or she must stay. She's in a sad quandary. The clock is on the stroke of 1, and neither doctor nor his guide appear along the moonlight road. There's neither horse nor man abroad, and Betty's still at Susan's side. And Susan she begins to fear of sad mischances not a few, that Johnny may perhaps be drowned, or lost perhaps and never found, which they must both for ever rue. She prefaced half a hint of this with God forbid it should be true. At the first words that Susan said, cried Betty, rising from the bed, Susan, I'd gladly stay with you. I must be gone, I must away. Consider, Johnny's but half wise. Susan, we must take care of him. If he is hurt in life or limb, oh God forbid, poor Susan cries. What can I do, says Betty going, what can I do to ease your pain? Good Susan, tell me, and I'll stay. I fear you're in a dreadful way, but I shall soon be back again. Good Betty, go, good Betty, go. There's nothing that can ease my pain. Then off she hies, but with a prayer, that God poor Susan's life would spare, till she comes back again. So through the moonlight lane she goes, and far into the moonlight dale, and how she ran, and how she walked, and all that to herself she talked, would surely be a tedious tale. In high and low, above, below, in great and small, in round and square, in tree and tower was Johnny seen, in bush and brake, in black and green, 'twas Johnny, Johnny everywhere. She passed the bridge that's in the dale, and now the thought torments her sore, Johnny perhaps his horse forsook, to hunt the moon that's in the brook, and never will be heard of more. And now she's high upon the down, alone amid a prospect wide, there's neither Johnny nor his horse, among the fern or in the gorse, there's neither doctor nor his guide. Oh saints, what is become of him? Perhaps he's cried into an oak, where he will stay till he is dead, or sadly he has been misled, and joined the wandering gipsy folk. Or him that wicked pony's carried to the dark cave, the goblin's hall, or in the castle he's pursuing, among the ghosts his own undoing, or playing with the waterfall. At poor old Susan then she railed, while to the town she posts away. If Susan had not been so ill, alas, I should have had him still, my Johnny, till my dying day. Poor Betty, in this sad distemper, the doctor's self would hardly spare. Unworthy things she talked and wild, even he of cattle the most wild, the pony had his share. And now she's got into the town, and to the doctor's door she hies. 'Tis silence all on every side, the town so long, the town so wide, is silent as the skies. And now she's at the doctor's door, she lifts the knocker, rap, rap, rap. The doctor at the casement shews his glimmering eyes that peep and doze, and one hand rubs his old nightcap. Oh, doctor, doctor, where's my Johnny? I'm here, what is't you want from me? Oh, sir, you know I'm Betty Foy, and I have lost my poor dear boy. You know him you often see. He's not so wise as some folks be. The devil takes his wisdom, said the doctor, looking somewhat grim. What, woman, should I know of him? And grumbling he went back to bed. Oh, woe is me, oh, woe is me, here will I die, here will I die. I thought to find my Johnny here, but he is neither far nor wide. Oh, what a wretched mother I! She stops, she stands, she looks about, Which way to turn she cannot tell. Poor Betty! it would ease her pain, If she had heart to knock again. The clock strikes 3, a dismal knell. Then up along the town she hies. No wonder if her senses fail. This piteous news, so much it shocked her, She quite forgot to send the doctor, To comfort poor old Susan Gale. And now she's high upon the down, And she can see a mile of road. Oh cruel! I am almost 80. Such night as this were ne'er before. There's not a single soul abroad. She listens, but she cannot hear The foot of horse, the voice of man. The streams with softest sound are flowing, The grass you almost hear it growing. You hear it now if e'er you can. The owlets through the long blue night Are shouting to each other still, Fond lovers, yet not quite hobnob. They lengthen out the tremulous sob That echoes far from hill to hill. Poor Betty now has lost all hope, Her thoughts are bent on deadly sin. A green ground pond she just has passed, And from the brink she hurries fast, Lest she should drown herself therein. And now she sits her down and weeps, Such tears she never shed before. Oh dear, dear pony, my sweet joy! Oh carry back my idiot boy, And we will ne'er loathe thee more. A thought is come into her head, The pony he is mild and good, And we have always used him well. Perhaps he's gone along the dell, And carried Johnny to the wood. Then up she springs as if on wings, She thinks no more of deadly sin. If Betty 50 ponds should see, The last of all her thoughts would be To drown herself therein. O reader, now that I might tell What Johnny and his horse are doing, What they've been doing all this time, Oh could I put it into rhyme, A most delightful tale pursuing. And perhaps no unlikely thought He with his pony now doth roam The cliffs and peaks so high that are, To lay his hands upon a star, And in his pocket bring it home. Perhaps he's turned himself about, His face unto the horse's tail, And silent and mute in wondering loss, All like a silent horseman's ghost, He travels on along the vale. And now perhaps he's hunting sheep, A fierce and dreadful hunter he. Yon vale that's so trim and green, In 5 months' time should he be seen, A desert wilderness will be. Perhaps with head and heels on fire, And like the very soul of evil, He's galloping away, away, And so he'll gallop on for aye, The bane of all that dread the devil. I to these muses have been bound These 14 years by strong indentures. O gentle muses, let me tell But half of what to him befell, For sure he met with strange adventures. O gentle muses, is this kind? Why will ye thus my suit repel? Why of your further aid bereave me? And can ye thus unfriended leave me? Ye muses, whom I love so well. Who's yon, that near the waterfall, Which thunders down with headlong force, Beneath the moon, yet shining fair, As careless as if nothing were, Sits upright on a feeding horse? Unto his horse that's feeding free, He seems, I think, the rein to give. Of moon or stars he takes no heed, Of such we in romances read. 'Tis Johnny, Johnny, as I live. And that's the very pony too. Where is she? Where is Betty Foy? She hardly can sustain her fears, The roaring waterfall she hears, And cannot find her idiot boy. Your pony's worth his weight in gold, Then calm your terrors, Betty Foy. She's coming from among the trees, And now all full in view she sees Him whom she loves, her idiot boy. And Betty sees the pony too. Why stand you thus, good Betty Foy? It is no goblin, 'tis no ghost, 'Tis he whom you so long have lost, He whom you love, your idiot boy. She looks again, her arms are up, She screams, she cannot move for joy, She darts as with a torrent's force, She almost has o'erturned the horse, And fast she holds her idiot boy. And Johnny birds and laughs aloud, Whether in cunning or in joy I cannot tell, but while he laughs, Betty a drunken pleasure quaffs To hear again her idiot boy. And now she's at the pony's tail, And now she's at the pony's head, On that side now, and now on this, And almost stifled with her bliss, A few sad tears does Betty shed. She kisses o'er and o'er again Him whom she loves, her idiot boy. She's happy here, she's happy there, She is uneasy everywhere, Her limbs are all alive with joy. She pats the pony where and when, She knows not, happy Betty Foy. The little pony glad may be, But he is milder far than she, You hardly can perceive his joy. Oh Johnny, never mind the doctor, You've done your best, and that is all. She takes the reins, when this was said, And gently turns the pony's head From the loud waterfall. By this the stars were almost gone, The moon was setting on the hill, So pale you scarcely looked at her, The little birds began to stir, Though yet their tongues were still. Pony, Betty, and her boy Wind slowly through the woody dale, And who is she betimes abroad, That hobbles up the steep rough road? Who is it but old Susan Gale? Long Susan lay deep lost in thought, And many dreadful fears beset her, Both for her messenger and nurse; And as her mind grew worse and worse, Her body it grew better. She turned, she tossed herself in bed, On all sides doubts and terrors met her, Point after point did she discuss, And while her mind was fighting thus, Her body still grew better. Alas! what is become of them? These fears can never be endured. I'll to the wood. The word scarce said, Did Susan rise up from her bed, As if by magic cured. Away she posts up hill and down, And to the wood at length is come. She spies her friends, she shouts a greeting. Oh me, it is a merry meeting, As ever was in Christendom. The owls have hardly sung their last, While our four travellers homeward wend. The owls have hooted all night long, And with the owls began my song, And with the owls must end. For while they were travelling home, Cried Betty, "Tell us, Johnny, do, Where all this long night you have been, What you have heard, what you have seen; And Johnny, mind you tell us true." Now Johnny all night long had heard The owls in tuneful concert strive; No doubt too he the moon had seen, For in the moonlight he had been From 8 o'clock till 5. And thus to Betty's question he Made answer like a traveller bold: "These very words I give to you. The cocks did crow to woo, And the sun did shine so cold." Thus answered Johnny in his glory, And that was all his travel's story. End of The Idiot Boy, recording by Verity Kendall.